I remember my first heartbreak, that empty hole feeling in my chest and the pain that seemed to come out of nowhere. I actually laughed at how much it hurt because I thought I was too strong to let it affect me. Edit, ugh. My fragile masculinity cannot handle all these feelings. You guys are weak. Story 1. It wasn't even the heartbreak that hurt the most. It was that emptiness in my life. The place she used to fill in the bed, the room, my day, my life. Without her, my life was unenjoyable. Story 2. Did not experience as much physical pain, but the thing that got me was how I could barely eat anything the first 2 weeks. It was not simply not being hungry. It was almost physically impossible to eat as I could feel bursts of nausea coming up whenever I was near food. I have a sensitive digestive tract as it is. Story 3. I'm currently going through the ringer right now. I had a girl that I got very emotionally attached to in a long-distance relationship break it off with me. When we were together, we were electric, but when we were apart, we were never on the same wavelength, and it just wouldn't work out. I'm not taking the breakup well. I lost my confidant and biggest supporter. Story 4. I never could have imagined a heartbreak controlling most of my decisions for years to come, much like a near-death experience, but it took me about 5 years to repair myself. Story 5. My chest felt heavy, and it really did hurt sometimes. I started smoking all day, every day to numb the pain and feel something other than the darkness. I started skipping classes and fell into a depression with just enough energy to make it seem like I had it together to all my friends. I called the suicide hotline only to get someone who seemed like they did not want to talk to a crying man. I started blacking out probably 4 to 5 days a week. It was a bad time. Story 6. For me, it was like someone cut off my addiction. Numb body, shaking, sweating, confusion, and anger. Just like all the electricity in my brain turned off. It was like a train hit me, but I was still alive. Really odd reaction. Story 7. It's hard to describe in words, but I'll try. It feels like hearing your favorite song on the radio and someone changes it at your favorite part. Except it was a song about your life, and when that person changed it, it went silent on the radio with no explanation, and it just gets dark. Story 8. I'm not missing any body parts, but it felt like what I think was essentially phantom limb pain for the soul. Immense emotional pain for something that was missing. Story 9. Yes, I was 39 years old and had never lost a relationship that I didn't want to end until that time. When she ended it, I was crushed but told myself I'd be back on my feet in a couple of weeks. Fast forward a year later, and I was still thinking of her every day throughout the day. I just wanted the feelings to stop and go away. I met my now wife about 16 months after that, and she could even sense I still had major hang-ups over that girlfriend. She must have seen something special in me for staying with me, but in time my love for my now wife, as my then girlfriend, began to completely overshadow those feelings for the previous woman. It's weird. The love you felt then doesn't always stop. It just remains frozen in time, and you go on about your life and love again. Story 10. Was I surprised? Haha. God, there's no way you can say it with the right words. I had it happen to me in high school, and I thought it was pretty tough. But you see, the real deal happened to me last year. It made every worst experience I had pale in comparison. I fell in love with someone whom I knew I shouldn't have. I met her, and in the beginning, I struggled to find the words to describe to you all how happy I was. As someone who's faced a bit of depression in life, every bad feeling compressed into a small ball and further shriveled into an atom until it dissipated. I felt as divine as a god. I felt invincible. I felt like nothing could stop me. I was this new man. I looked at myself and thought, so this is what actual happiness is? This is the feeling I've waited for so long after all the nonsense I've faced? Well, it's completely worth it. Every second of it. I wish I was this fantastic writer so I could concoct the perfect way to explain the feeling of pure light in my heart to you guys. It's a feeling that is so powerful that when it's stripped from you, it changes you completely. One day, I found out that she cheated on me with her ex that abused her. Think about that for 1 second with me. Think of you losing the girl to that someone who physically and mentally abused her. Wouldn't you feel so utterly defeated that you doubt yourself forever? To endlessly ask yourself if you were ever even good enough. That's how I felt. One day, in the blink of an eye, everything can change in an instant. My world flipped upside down, my chest feeling tight, getting harder and harder to breathe, as if you're in shock or if your body begins to decline right before death. This is just the beginning, you see? Because after all that hurt, you now have to wake up every day and think about it. What did I do wrong? Wasn't I good enough? Wasn't I what she wanted? What could I have done to change it? Could I change it? Why does she no longer care? Why did she do this to me? How could she do this when I treated her so well? These, along with thousands, if not millions, of other questions. Inside your head. Every day. The first to come as soon as you open your eyes from sleep to the time you close your eyes for bed. Every second. Every single day. And you ask yourself this. Does it ever end? The answer is that it doesn't. But in time, you begin to heal. For some, it takes mere months. Others, takes years. Hell, even some people never heal. That's me. It didn't really heal. It's easier, yes, but it's still there. Kind of becomes your shadow that endlessly walks beside you. That sadness? My sadness? No, it stayed. As a matter of fact, it evolved. It started as a sadness so great I can't describe it in words. The best way I can describe it is that I didn't want to exist any longer. The sadness begot misery. Misery begot hopelessness. Hopelessness begot bitterness. Bitterness begot anger. And finally, anger begot hatred. This is how I felt. I know it's incredibly dark, but you asked. I will explain it because it's how it is. There's nothing that breaks it. It feels like a barrier you cannot destroy. The most unpleasant part, you ask, is that barrier will block you from ever trusting someone again. Take care, guys. Edit 1. I'm not really new to Reddit, only been here a few months, so I don't understand the reward system here, but it seems I've been awarded with platinum. Edit 2. Thank you guys so much for that. That seriously means a lot to me. Thank you all for your stories on here. And thank you all for your kind words. If any of you ever wish to message me and talk about it, please do not hesitate. I will listen and help you. Take care, all of you. Finally, thank you to that kind person who gave me the Platinum Award. Story 11. It's been 2.5 months. It still hurts. It's an awful pain. She was so utterly important to me, and I pushed her love away out of my own self-loathing and issues. I'd stopped taking care of myself properly mentally, and she tried her best. She really did. She even gave me a window to fix it. I said no. I didn't want to put her through more pain, but I still think that was the wrong answer. I still think about sleeping beside her almost nightly. I see her smile, hear her laugh, and look back on the hundreds of pictures I took of us. I've tried to let go, but that first, intense, truly real love is just so difficult to release. The loss is real. The pain is awful. I get by burying it and throwing myself into creative and educational works. It's probably going to catch up with me sooner or later. Story 12. I got a heartbreak at 28. The first time someone I really liked decided to not want me anymore. The other times it was me who decided it, or we just developed differently and went our own way. I was in a bad place for half a year. It did not make it better that I had to see her every day because of how our university curriculum was. It was not even sadness for me. It was the feeling of loss, of not having it anymore, of rage against her, because she took herself from me and there was nothing I could or should do about it. There was a piece of my heart missing and I saw it every day. I felt selfish, angry, sad, mixed all together to create a strange numbness. But I got over her, thanks to talking with her once more, and somehow it just went away. Now there is just a happy sadness, which I like, because it means that there used to be something nice. Story 13. I remember shaking all night, feeling intense emotion and pain. The next day, I had a football or soccer game, which I figured would be a good distraction. I played hard because I wanted to feel physical pain to cover up the intense emotional pain I was experiencing. That day, I played the best game of my life. It wasn't my intention, but not caring about the physical pain meant I was running faster, taking more risks, and just really intense. But yes, Heartbreak is a pain worse than any I've felt. The only thing worse than heartbreak is losing a friend or family member, but one could argue that's just a permanent heartbreak. Story 14. I never thought that I would cry so hard that I leaned against the wall and slowly descended to the floor, like how you see it in movies. That was because of my first heartbreak, damn. Story 15. There is a TED Talk about heartbreak, and the speaker compared being heartbroken to an addict experiencing withdrawal. I think this description is spot on. When my long-term girlfriend broke up with me, I was a mess and still kind of am. I never thought anything, which is fairly normal, could mess me up this much emotionally. Story 16. It completely changed who I am for the better today because I realized the changes I need to make to be the person I want to be. If I think about it, I may still occasionally get sad that I ruined a potentially great thing, but I have moved on and met better people along the way. Story 17. You think the grief will make you smaller inside, like your heart will collapse in on itself, but it doesn't. I feel spaces opening up inside of me, like a building with rooms I have never explored. This quote is from Dolores in Westworld describing the death of her parents, but it describes perfectly how I felt when my ex, who was also a close friend, left me. Story 18. Just found out last week that my girlfriend was cheating on me. I never thought I would be this broken up over a girl. It is debilitating. I find myself laughing at a joke from a TV show or movie, then 2 seconds later the feeling of emptiness comes back and it physically hurts. Broken hearts suck. Story 19. Going on exactly a year since we broke up. Woke up today after an excruciating dream that reminded me she existed and that I still am, in fact, in love with her. For goodness sake, stay strong, people. Story 20. Absolutely. I got dumped by the first girl I fell in love with and wanted to marry, and she did it to me when I was deployed to Iraq. Afterwards, I didn't become suicidal, but I definitely developed a forget-it attitude towards all the danger I was in. I never put my peers in danger, but I volunteered for every dangerous thing possible, went outside the wire even when I didn't need to, became much less cautious, became fearless to the point of stupidity, etc. Looking back on it, it was totally insane and a ridiculous way to handle things, but it did make me realize just how crazy a broken heart can make you, especially when you're young and she's the first girl you've ever felt that connection with. Story 21. It's been 2 years. I've kept myself busy with studies and exercise, but there have been a few times where I just caved in and broke down. I'm an emotional wreck still now. It is seriously just a gigantic hole you can't fill. I have no idea if it will go away, to be completely honest. Story 22. I've never had someone rip a knife across my stomach, but that's what it felt like when I found out she didn't love me and wanted me to leave, and eventually divorce. This was 10 years ago, and I'm very much over it. I've never had my literal heart squeezed to the point of discomfort, but that's what it felt like when I didn't get to see, feel, or be with her after she wanted to end things. This was 2 years ago, and this is a bit raw still. Story 23. The best analogy I can think of is it's kind of like an underground mine fire that you don't see but know it's there. An intense feeling that only you can feel. Some parts of it completely go away or get extinguished with time, but there's always pain and evidence of it. Story 24. It did. And then every song you hear seems to be about breaking up or meeting someone new, which makes it even worse. Also, TV shows or movies with breakups, I just could not watch them. Story 25. I could not believe how much it hurt. Physically hurt. It was like having a part of me amputated. I cried for days. I tried so hard to get her back in any way possible. I aggressively made improvements in myself to push away the literal heartache and be a better man for her. She would take me back for a week or two, then dump me for a new guy she would meet online, and I would keep working on my issues one by one. She ended up engaged to an ex of hers, and once again I was in excruciating pain, knowing I would never have a chance again. That was the worst. That shut me down for months, and it took me a couple of years to be able to move on. I was a mess. Story 26. Oh my God. So much. I wanted to die, and not in a figurative sense. It turns out there's a huge difference between wanting to kill yourself and wanting to die. I never understood that before. 3 years later, and I am still struggling in some ways, but I am glad to be here. Just got to keep swimming and trust for a time that you won't always feel that way. Story 27. It can cripple you. It's like an emotional concussion. It fills my head with wool so I can't quite grasp an emotional connection. Hopefully, this isn't forever. Story 28. I remember reading a study a while back, and the hypothesis was that the physical pain you feel from severe emotional distress is because losing close relationships is detrimental to survival. As we are social creatures, it's ingrained so deeply into our minds to react negatively. Story 29. The funny thing about heartbreak is that no one, and I mean no one, can prepare you for it. Not your mother or father, your sister or brother, best friend or grandmother. Everyone responds to heartbreak differently. I can tell you what it may feel like and what it may hurt like, but at the end of the day, no one prepares you for it. The same can be said about love. People talk and tell you what love feels like and all that jazz, but really, you will know. It's just the way these deep-seated emotions work. Even if my parents sat me down at 17 and were like, hey, so when you fall in love and you get your heart broken, this is what it's going to feel like. It wouldn't have done me any good because of the way I internalized my first breakup and powered through my second most recent one in August 2017. The only thing you can really do is try to understand the feelings and rationalize them, wrestle with them. Love, heartbreak, death, sorrow. These are emotions that unfortunately have to be experienced firsthand to really understand them. How I knew what love was during my first serious relationship, I couldn't tell you, I just knew. Similarly, during the breakup, I was told what it would feel like and how to cope, but I ignored all that because they weren't me. I was me, and I know me, and I needed to find my own way through. While the support is critical for healing, really, it is yourself that has to overcome, outlast, and thrive. I have no advice on how to deal with a breakup or how to nourish love, only that it is up to you and your soul to navigate. The general things apply. Surround yourself with friends, family, and those that care about you. But let's be real here, that only partially stops the bleeding. The crippling sorrow you feel that no one else can see. That's the true test of your self-perseverance and inner fire and your desire to get back out there or remain isolated. Depending on the type of breakup, there are different types of outcomes. The one that I gravitate to first is, was it me? What could I have done better? This is a tough mentality to overcome, especially when I was cheated on in both my previous relationships. At a certain point, I had to wonder if maybe it was just me, but it is the most rewarding when you accept that a relationship needs to be 100 out of 100, not 50/50ths. And if you truly felt like your partner wasn't close to that 100 mark, then you should not feel ashamed or feel blame for what transpired. Relationships are hard. They take work and effort, love and energy. If both parties don't do their part, then the relationship is doomed for failure. The only person that will understand what you are going through during a breakup is you. Outsiders will try to empathize and understand. Let them. It's a helpful conduit, but don't get upset or irritable when they can't put themselves in your shoes. They will never be able to fully understand, and that's okay. I've learned over the years that sometimes we, as people, are not meant to understand everything, and we have to accept that. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's the real truth. The power of self is stronger than people give it credit for, and knowing that, it behooves each and every one of us to dig deep when we are at our lowest and pull ourselves up. One of my best friends gave me some of the best advice during my first go-around. He said, run. Go for a run, no phone, no way to communicate back to the world. Just run. When you are tired and exhausted, weary and weak, you will realize the only person that you have to rely on to get you back to where you know is yourself. The human spirit can attempt to be crushed or squashed, but if there is even a shred of hope, even for a better tomorrow, it must be fought for. Also, for those that are looking for a tune that captures this feeling, Stained, let it out. Stay strong.